We want to welcome you. This is the annual report to the public. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matt Ferguson, who's going to deliver our report to the public.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to move through this as quickly as possible and just kind of give you an update on where we're at as far as our goals and give you some state required information, things like that. So here's our agenda. Bailey? Sorry.
It may not be on, sorry.
Here's our agenda. So we're going to talk about our goals, plans to correct deficiencies where we see them, our accreditation status, state reporting requirements, and then federal funding. Here's our first goal. It's to increase student achievement for all students in all areas. And so what I chose to put in here for this is our school value added growth and our weighted achievement, because those are two of the biggest ticket items for our school report card. And our school report card will be out, from what I understand, I think I put in your admin reports that it was going to be October 14th, but they pushed that back to November. So it'll be public information for the school report cards in November. So, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about the school value added growth. This is a simple image that they use. So basically the state takes a lot of data and determines how much growth a student is expected to have each year. And so they either met that growth, exceeded it, or didn't quite meet the growth that we expected. And I know Ms. Chappell presented a lot of information on that the other night, so I won't get into too much detail on that. So the state did determine, they looked at a lot of research and tried to determine a number that is what they expect. So that 80 is the goal. That if we can hit 80, that means that our students are making the growth that was expected. Anything above 80 is more than expected. Anything below 80 is less than expected. So as you can see, we've got some areas that are above 80, and then we've got some areas that are really close but below 80. So we've got some work to do there, but we're also proud of some of the work that we've done as well. So this is the weighted achievement. So I'll explain a little more about this on the next slide, kind of show you a little bit of the math that goes into it and how they determine what our weighted achievement number is. So if you look at this on the next slide, this is going to be hard to see. You guys up here may have to turn around and look behind you, but I was going to use a pointer, but this pointer works on the wall, but not on the screen for some reason. So basically what we're looking at is that in need of support, if you look at right there under high school, that in need of support, there's 132 in ELA, and then there's 44 exceeding. So we get 0 points for those kids that score in need of support. We get half a point for the kids that score close, and we get 1 point for the students that score ready, and then we get 1 point for any student that is exceeding. But then if we have more exceeding students than we have in need of support, we get a 1.25. So we get a quarter of a point for every student that's over. But if you look at middle school, under math, there were 93 in need of support, and then there were 103 in exceeding. We didn't get the 0.25 because it's a combination of ELA and math. So we need both of those to be in the exceeding range, more exceeding than in need of support. So that last column that says ELA plus math students, that's really the one that matters the most when it comes to students that are exceeding versus students in need of support. So if you take all those numbers, you see at the bottom it says weighted performance points earned. So they've calculated how many points we got out of how many points were possible, multiplied that by 100, and then that's where our weighted achievement score comes from. So. All right.
And what's the ideal for that, Matt?
Well, of course, 100 would be ideal, but.
The state average, well, I should have put that
What's for
in here so
different,
you could
it's
kind of
different
see
for each campus?
what the state average is. Do what?
Is it different for each campus?
Yeah, so I mean, even like St. Paul is K6, but really K2, the only thing that really counts K2 is the student engagement. So our attendance piece, which, you know, Bruce and I have looked at that down there and their attendance is great. So, and really, I was in a meeting earlier this week, a curriculum meeting where they talked about that it's the SQSS where that student engagement is included in our school report card, and that student engagement isn't a very big piece. Like, it doesn't make a big difference if the attendance piece is not there. These two, the weighted achievement and the school value added growth, are the two that's going to make the biggest mark on our school report card. So to me, they're the most important to be looking at for sure. Not that we don't want to look at those other things as well, but these two hit us the most. Any other questions before I move? Okay. So here's some things that we're doing to meet that goal, to correct any deficiencies that we have. We're continuing to administer the MAP tests, common formative assessments, measuring student growth, and adjusting our instruction to that student growth. All campuses are finishing up RISE training. We've been looking at that as recent as this week, just making sure that all of our teachers are trained in RISE. K6 teachers will have to be proficient, and all special education teachers have to be proficient in RISE. 712 has to be aware. So, we've adopted new curriculum and at least ELA, science, and math 3 through 12. Some campuses have also adopted social studies curriculum. So we've got a lot of new curriculum floating around. So we've got teachers learning that along with the kids, and but we feel confident about it because we spent a lot of time researching that curriculum, and Ed Reports is a great resource for that. We try to pick the top curriculums that we could find on Ed Reports, and for the most part, it's HMH. We're using a lot of HMH curriculum, and really you see a lot of crossover from literacy, social studies, science. So those kids are getting to see that multiple times throughout the day. So, and then primary, I don't want to ruin their presentation here in a little bit, but they did receive a RISE Initiative Award, and Ms. Roach and Ms. Momix are going to present that in a little bit and let you know a little more about that. So we are using PLCs, professional learning committees. So basically we are getting together and discussing student growth and seeing what we need to do to get those kids where they need to be, targeting students, specific students, and trying to get the growth that we need out of them. And then we're also using built-in response to intervention time. So I think at Mike's building it's called WIN. We've got SOAR, and what's yours down there?
RTI.
RTI, just RTI. So that's, for most of them, it's at least a 40-minute class period during the day where they can bring kids in, work on certain skills, and push them a little bit further. Okay. Our second goal is to expand the career and technical pathways for our students in order to provide the skills and knowledge they need to secure careers in technical areas in our community and across the state of Arkansas. So some things that we're doing. Last year we had the CNA, the diesel, the welding, auto shop programs in all of our CTE buildings. We had 13 students get their CNA certification, and we're working to expand our teacher cadet program. We've got 30 students enrolled in that program right now, and we're hoping that some of those students will take the parapro test and come back to work for us here. So the Agri department, I could have listed several things under the Agri department because they're working really hard to expand that farming and horticulture. And Roxanne sent me a list of things that they're wanting to do, and they're really excited, really passionate about expanding that, so it's good. Diesel and auto, we had 6 students get 17 ASC certifications, 7 that completed 27 automotive certifications, 2 auto completers, and 20 safety certifications through that program. So that last bullet says we've got plans to better implement the work keys assessment. That meeting that I went to earlier this week, they talked a lot about the work keys assessment, and one of the big things about that assessment is it shows that we're workforce ready, shows that our community is workforce ready. And so a lot of the big businesses that want to move into towns, they're going to start looking at this assessment to see, is this community workforce ready? And so it's vital that we start really implementing that and using that work keys assessment. So those kids will take that test, and then if they're like a bronze level on the test, that'll help them. They can put that on their resume, and then it'll help them secure a job. So very important for our career and technical education. All right, third goal. You guys come on in. Not gonna bother me. Improve the health of our students through the food service program by serving nutritious meals and encouraging healthy food choices, which will in turn lead to healthier lives. Things that we're doing for that, we were able to offer free lunches all last year, but obviously, as you guys know, we went back to charging for lunches this year. So we made a big push for free and reduced, and our final number was 68. Bailey, help me out there. 6811. So we're just almost right there at 70%. So
43 kids.
but we do, that push was well worth it, because that's a lot more funding that we get through that ESA. So definitely worth it. So all through COVID, we did take the salad bars away, the self-serve, anything that was self-serve, we're able to add that back, and that's a big deal for us. The kids are able to get fruits and vegetables and salad and all that off of there. So, and they make it look nice. I've got some pictures on here on the next slide that you'll get to see, but they definitely try to make it look enticing for sure for those kids, and that helps out. So we're providing them with healthy, filling meals that hopefully remind them of home and family. And some of our kids, they don't get a good meal like that a lot of times. So we want to make sure that they're getting it here at school. We spend some time looking for more kid-friendly options, but we also, if you look down just a couple of bullets there, we try to, or down to the next bullet, we try to use our commodities as much as possible. And those commodities are foods that are purchased by USDA, and then we can buy them for minimal cost, for a lot cheaper than we would be able to just go out and buy those items. So we try to utilize that as much as possible. And then we follow the USDA nutrition standards and the Smart Snack standards for our a la carte. Primary grades, we serve the whole lunch to all of our primary grades. And then 3 through 12, right, Tina, 3 through 12, they have the option of certain items. But I think Tina's told me that you need to offer something to a kid at least 7 times before they might even try it. So that's why with our primary grades, we make sure that we offer everything to them to try to get them to try new things. There's our salad bar, looking colorful and nice, and they make it look good every day. So. All right, so accreditation status, all of our schools are accredited. The rest of this is going to go pretty quick. We're going to kind of slide through some of these things. This is our Board of Education training for last year. You can see the hours that each board member last year received. All right, here's some other state required information. Our graduation rate for high school is at 83%. Graduation rate for St. Paul, 100%. So proud of that. Yeah, definitely. You can see that don't think I need to go through and read all of it. I'll leave it there for a second and let you look at it. That AP exam, that 5 in literacy is huge. That's huge. It's pretty rare to see a kid that scores a 5 on those AP exams. So we're proud of the 4s as well. That 5 for sure is big. All right. Okay. Some more state required information. So we've got our retention rate for primary it's right at 1%, just barely over 1%. Last year it was at 2%, so we've come down a little bit there. And school choice 4.8%, and then intermediate we didn't have any retention, and school choice was less than 1%. Middle school retention less than 1%, school choice same, and then St. Paul no retention, no school choice, elementary. Okay. And then our federal funding, this is the last thing that we'll look at. Just included Title I here, which is used for literacy and math supplies, things like that. And then Title IIA, 3, 4, 5, and ESSA, and they're all listed there, what those funds are used for. Those are our allocations from last year. Okay. Any questions, comments?
You know I always have a question.
Yeah,
First
go
of
for
all,
it.
do we still do math testing at the high school?
Yes.
And CTE programs this year, I emailed you this question earlier, so you
Yeah.
probably, do we actually have an like live teacher every day in the CNA classroom?
Yes. So at the beginning of the year, we had our teacher left, 2 weeks before school started, a week before school started. Our teacher from last year left about a week before school started. So we had about 3 weeks there where we didn't have a teacher in place, but the director of the program was doing 3 days a week. So that may be where you got the 3 days a week.
Okay.
But now they've hired a teacher and she's there every day of the week.
That's
teaching.
awesome. What about welding? Do we have
So
welding?
welding we're working on. We did have kids signed up at the beginning of the year for that program, and unfortunately we didn't have a teacher in place. And so I've reached out to NTI and they're working on getting that teacher in place. We had somebody that was interested. Mr. Wrinkle had actually recommended him, and he's a community member here, great guy. I think he would be great. We had talked. I asked him for a resume a couple of times, and he said, "Man, I just can't do it." He said, "It's just, the hours it's about 4 hours a day, I think, and $30 an hour." And he said he just couldn't afford to do that and still work his
Way more.
other job. So
If you had paid anybody to do any
Yeah.
welding. So, did we have somebody last year, or was Mr. Wrinkle covering that? Did we have welding?
we did have.
Because I thought we did. I
Yeah.
thought I had some kids that
Yeah.
went through that program.
So our teacher for that program last year now works for NTI. He went to them full time. So
Matt,
so we lost him.
He
Sure.
was actually, the welding teacher was actually employed by NTI, and then they hired him full-time
True.
at NTI. So
Okay.
NTI hires that person, just like
Hiring.
Northark hires the
Yeah.
CNA instructor. So they're actually hired through those two colleges.
Okay, so we're just having to wait. So right now, those kids that signed up took other classes then?
That we moved them either into
Yes.
diesel or we sent them to St. Paul down to the
Oh,
small
okay.
engine.
We have 4 students coming from Huntsville down to our outdoor power company.
That's awesome.
Have you thought about adding a CDA program?
A what?
CDA?
No, but we're in talks with an EMS through Northark. So we do hope with the, we're talking.
Because CDA would be very useful. I mean, this is a
Well,
Yes.
daycare desert, so
Yes.
it's something that.
Yes.
Well, and with the teacher cadet program, they would have that paraprofessional. We're actually sending them down to the primary schools to do internships down there with those teachers. But yeah, we're looking at that. We've just gotta take
Baby steps.
Yes, but we've got, the new teacher that we hired has a certification for that, so we just have to, we're prepping, we're going.
Yeah, because it is, like she said, it is a daycare desert.
It is a daycare desert, and with the
You cannot
CDA, they
be
can
in.
actually open their own.
Correct, yes.
One last question,
You're
work keys assessment. I have mixed feelings on that, because I hear some, they sell it as it's a really good program, then I hear other people say the employers are not really looking at it. I had seniors last year, and I asked them if anybody even ever, and they had all different kinds of jobs, CNA, they had worked at Sonic, they worked at Walmart, they said nobody cared about it.
So,
So that's why I'm wondering if should we
yes.
really put our time into that, because.
So, Ross is who spoke to us last week about this, and he did admit that, right now, it's not as important to the employers as it's going to be in the future, and that's something that they're working on pushing out to those employers and saying, look, we're working to have these kids take these assessments and show that they're ready to come to work for you. We need you to start using these assessments. And so the State Department is working on building that relationship with the big business owners. And like you said, when they're taking that assessment, it's a way for us to be able to prove that Huntsville is workforce ready. So when somebody wants to move in, I know Remington looked at this area at one point, and somebody like a company like Remington wants to come in, they might be able to look at that assessment and say, man, they've got a lot of people ready to go to work right now. So
How are we dealing with that at the high school this year?
With the work keys, we're running it, the training piece of that through the RTI.
Okay.
We did, I will say this, we went from 30 minutes 3 days a week with RTI. We revamped the schedule, and we've got 45 minutes 5 days a week. So we've upped that, that's 135 extra minutes per week. So, but I've already been talking with Ms. Chappell, and we've already planned to put those modules for them for the 11th and the 12th graders through the RTI piece of that. So they'll
Okay.
sign up for a session with whomever we choose to help facilitate that.
Okay, so it'll be specific places, not just,
Correct,
Okay.
correct. We've got an RTI scheduler that they can make these little sessions, and then we can either put the kid in there or they can sign up for that.
and St. Paul's they're running it through their RTI program as well.
We're currently 1 day a week. Anna came down and she said, this is what your juniors should be taking modules. So those kids 1 day a week are doing those, and the seniors are doing the modules for them. Getting them ready for in the spring, when they test, they'll be ready to go.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
All right. I'm gonna hand it over for these ladies to give you some good information.
Not yet.
Really.
Later.
Yeah.
We adjourn?
Yeah.
All right, so motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Got like 7 minutes before we go.